Have you ever dealt with a person so entitled, so completely out of touch with reality, that their story sounds like a work of fiction? Well, you're in the right place. What happened to me at Costco last month needs to be shared, if only to prove that these people actually exist. If you love stories where a power-tripping Karen gets a full serving of justice, do me a favor and hit that like button right now. And you'll definitely want to subscribe, because the ending to this story is more satisfying than a free sample of a freshly baked cookie. My name is David Garrison. About 6 months ago, I moved to a supposedly quiet neighborhood with my 10-year-old son, Ethan. We had a little father-son tradition, our weekly Costco run. He loved the samples, I loved the discounts. It was our thing. We were in the frozen food section when it happened. Ethan, with a huge smile on his face, had just grabbed a sample of those little spinach puffs. Suddenly, this woman, who I'd later learn was our HOA President, Patricia Hawthorne, literally shoves past him with her cart. My son stumbled, his sample cup flying through the air. The woman didn't even glance back. She just marched on. I helped Ethan up, making sure he was okay. He was more confused than hurt, and that's when things went from rude to completely unhinged. From the nearby women's restroom, we heard this voice, echoing. She was shouting with such fury that other shoppers were stopping their carts to stare. This is exactly why property values are declining. Children running wild, grabbing samples like feral animals. This is what happens when we don't enforce community standards. I stood there holding my son's hand while this woman delivered a full-blown manifesto from a bathroom stall about the dignity of the neighborhood. She finally emerged, her face flushed with righteous anger, looked directly at me and said, "You need to control your child. This reflects poorly on all of Pine Ridge Estates." Then she just walked away. Ethan looked up at me and asked, "Dad, what did I do wrong?" 3 days later, I found the first violation notice taped to my front door. The fine? $200. The reason? Failure to maintain appropriate public decorum. It claimed my son's aggressive sample consumption at Costco was a violation of our HOA agreement, and that, my friends, was just the beginning. The citations kept coming. A $300 fine for excessive display of casual wear because Ethan wore his favorite dinosaur hoodie to the grocery store. A $500 fine for inappropriate vehicle loading technique because I put my groceries in the trunk instead of the back seat. This woman was fining me for how I lived my life, miles away from the neighborhood. Tried to be reasonable, I sent polite emails. I highlighted our HOA bylaws, showing her that none of this was real. Her replies were just rambling nonsense about community excellence. This is the point where I have to ask you guys, what is the absolute most ridiculous, insane rule an HOA or a neighbor has ever tried to enforce on you? Drop your story in the comments below. I need to know I'm not alone in this madness. I knew I had to fight back. I started digging. Public records, financial statements, and that's when I hit the jackpot. Patricia wasn't just a power-tripping lunatic. She was a thief. She was using HOA funds for personal shopping sprees, luxury spa retreats, high-end, restaurant meetings, and, I couldn't believe it, monthly $500 Costco purchases labeled as HOA supplies. She was using our money to fund her own lifestyle. The final showdown was at an emergency HOA meeting she called to demand more power. She had a whole PowerPoint presentation. And then, a picture of my son, smiling and reaching for that sample, appeared on the screen. It was labeled, Exhibit A, Uncontrolled Minor Creating Public Disturbance. That was it. I'd had enough. I stood up, and with the whole neighborhood watching, I presented my own evidence. First, the actual bylaws, proving her fines were illegal. Then, the financial records, the receipts, the bank statements. The room went silent. Patricia's face went from red to white to a shade of purple I'd never seen before, but I wasn't done. The final blow was the security footage from Costco. A sympathetic employee had helped me get it. I played it for everyone to see. The video clearly showed her shoving my 10-year-old son. The crowd erupted. Parents were on their feet, shouting. The other board members looked horrified. When someone pointed out that she'd assaulted a child on camera, she actually screamed, "He was taking too many samples." It was a defensive action for the reputation of Pine Ridge Estates. Chaos. The police had to be called. But when they arrived and saw the evidence of embezzlement and the assault footage, they weren't there for the crowd. They were there for her. Patricia was charged with embezzlement of over $32,000 and simple assault. At her trial, she showed zero remorse. When the judge sentenced her to 18 months in prison, she stood up and shouted at him, "You are contributing to the decline of suburban America. This courtroom needs better landscaping." The bailiffs had to physically drag her out as she screamed about the courthouse's fluorescent lighting. In the end, she wasn't a president or a queen or a defender of property values. She was just a bully and a thief who picked a fight with the wrong dad. Justice was served, all her ridiculous fines were canceled, and our neighborhood finally got its peace back. If this story gave you even a little bit of satisfaction, and you believe justice was truly served, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're all about sharing stories where the good guys win and the Karens get exactly what's coming to them. Thanks for listening.